Today's guest, Cass Grodd, is an entrepreneur, an author, a personality, and a creator online, and she's been grinding away at this brand for the last 10 years. In a time where a lot of the world's creators have blown up quickly since COVID, it takes true grit to find a creator who's managed to build their brand over a decade. People like Cass who have grinded it out for this period of time, there's something different about them. And when you watch this podcast, you'll understand why and how she's been so successful. Let's get into it. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on Stansplaining. Why don't you quickly introduce yourself to the audience and then we'll kick into it.
What's up? I am Cass Grodd, Cassandra if I'm in trouble, and I am an entrepreneur, personality, influencer, and the podcast host of the Sass with Cass podcast.
Love it.
I'm 28 years old, from Auckland, New Zealand, half German. Shout out my German roots, but from Auckland, New Zealand. And yeah, that's me.
That's good. That is going to be my first compliment for the show is that I was like, when you just said you're 28, I was like, I honestly thought you're like 23, 24. I thought you like, no, honestly, because I thought you were like the same as like, oh, fuck our staff.
Yeah,
who are
yeah,
young
yeah.
And you look about the same age, and I just assumed. So there you go. There's our first
That's
compliment for the day.
skincare,
There's a
baby.
great skincare.
That's all the wellness practices.
There you go.
There you go.
Give us some sponsorships for the podcast episode. Why don't we start with, like I said off camera, where this all began, like this journey to become this personality that you are?
For me, it really began, like, I think if you're, so I'm 28, like I just mentioned, but I think that little window of 27 to 30, we grew up on the internet. You know, I was on Bebo, I was on Tumblr, and I didn't have the easiest time at high school.
Okay.
I didn't fit in immediately.
Yep.
But I always found this online community quite successfully. So I had a big Tumblr blog, you know, back in the day.
Cool.
Had like 20, 30, 40K, whatever it was.
Amazing.
And that was my safe space in life, was the internet.
Yeah.
And so that transitioned to Instagram. I was 16 or 17 when Instagram came out. Yeah. And my good friend at the time, Holly Greenwood, if she's listening, made a Instagram called Healthy Holly, where she basically documented like eating sushi and going to the gym.
Yep.
And I was like, let me jump on this. And I just started posting myself, and I naturally was just a personality that people gravitated towards. I originally posted quite out there captions. So they do not scroll back and read them, but they were kind of these funny, sexualized joke humor captions. I always pushed the boundary with fashion. I pushed the boundary with my body. Yeah. And in the moments where I didn't feel like I had friends at school, I just started to slowly but surely build these friends online. And I mean, people had some massive opinions about it. I was 18, 19 on the internet every day, which was wild for that time.
Oh, shit, yeah.
And at about 3,000, 4,000 followers is when I first posted a piece of writing. And I remember I posted it was just like this little poem I'd written. And I went to the bathroom and I came back and I had 50 DMs. Wow. And I was like, I'm Justin Bieber. Like, I'm Kylie Jenner. Like, this is crazy, dude. And it kept happening. I would post these little snippets. People would like them. Eventually, I made a page dedicated for that because I was like, maybe I shouldn't flood the fashion bikini photos with sad girl. Yeah. Made a page called Quotes with Cass. Yeah. And it didn't originally massively hit, but I loved it. Yeah. And it built and built and built, and then it was hitting. Yeah. And I was posting little talking stories, which I think is the origin of my podcast now, or pieces of writing, and it was just scaling. You know, I'd grow 3,000 followers off one talking story and grew this really dedicated kind of following. Yeah. And I basically it's a long-winded answer.
You know, I love this. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I had this page of body positivity and confidence and fashion, and then I had the writing, and writing was more about my eating disorder.
Got it.
So I had a really brutal eating disorder for most of my teenage years, from probably 12 through to 25. In all honesty, I had bulimia, which is where you make yourself sick, and I talked to that's what my first book, Bully, was short for. Bulimia. Stop bullying yourself if the bully's in your own head. So I was talking a lot about mental health. I was talking about this eating disorder, and at the time, nobody else was talking about that. Yeah. Like, wellness and mental health is much bigger now, but when I started I was literally in the news.
Yeah,
I was in stuff. I was on 3 News. I was on radio hosts, and it was like 21-year-old influencer comes out with eating disorder sort of thing. It was literally headlining. And that gave me a big platform, and I think people looked at me for this juxtaposition of she's gone through feeling really bad about herself, but she has this confidence, and it was intriguing, and it spoke to healing it, and it spoke to transformation, and my content and my audience. I think that was really my origin. That's what differentiated me, and from there, everything kind of grew into what it is today.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't realize how long ago you started.
Yeah. Been in the game for ages.
Is awesome because like it makes me appreciate what you have now more. Like
thank you.
The people who have grinded it out are always the ones who know it better.
Yeah.
Like they get it better.
Yeah.
They got better audiences. It now doesn't surprise me why you sold so many books straight away because of how hard it is to sell a book.
Yeah.
Like was it first week 2000 on Bully? No, was it Bully that did 2000 the first week?
2,500 in its first week.
That doesn't surprise me at all now because like at first when I saw it, I was like, wait, fuck, that's like no books in New Zealand do that.
Yeah.
Books in New Zealand never sell that. There's only like a handful that ever have.
Yeah.
In their first week, it's like New Zealand authors are terrible at selling books. And when I saw it, I was like, how did this happen? Because your followership doesn't show as a raw number that you could do that, right? Like it's a lot. It's like 5% of your 2 Instagram pages, let's say. But it's a thing I say to a lot of business owners when they're building their personal brand to like stick it at long term. Like don't stress about the number of followers, like stick about the consistency of it.
Amen.
And we look at like my personal brand versus the Attention Seekers brand. So the Attention Seekers brand on Instagram and TikTok has 1.2 million. And on my TikTok and LinkedIn, I have like 45,000.
Yeah.
But I generate like 70% of the business.
Wow.
And it's because it's like long, steady. My audience is like really solidified. They really get me. They follow me for all the daily stuff I do. And so hearing you say that made me like, that was just the light bulb moment. That was one of my questions for today. It's like, how did you do it? But it seems to me that you've just got a really good, dedicated audience that you've kept for so long. How, like, when you think about that then, tell me about that audience. Like, how much do you engage with them outside of just putting content down?
Oh my gosh. They're my best friends.
Yeah.
They're literally and I've always really prided myself on that. And to be business and figure-minded, I get paid a lot more than you think I would because my engagement is a lot higher than what you'd expect.
Yeah.
So I have 21,000 followers on my main Instagram page.
Yep.
And my percentage of views might be sometimes up to 7,000 to 10,000.
Got it.
So I'm scaling above content creators who might have triple my following because people actually care, and I care so much about that really isn't a number to me. And I've always said like big sister Cass.
Yeah.
And that's because behind the scenes I'm spending hours a day giving advice on anything from boys that haven't replied to you.
Yeah.
You know, I've got basically like a 92% female following, so we talk a lot about boys. Boys, skin.
Yeah.
You know, people come up to me on the street. I was going through I had really bad cystic acne. I was going through your skin highlight. I went use this product you recommended. So for me, it's always been deeper than a number, and I've never chased big numbers ever. I've chased connection. Yeah. And that's my so-called like strategy, I think, is actually being vulnerable and being real with them. And just, it really became my safe space. It became a place where I was accepted. And so I think that my followers also feel accepted by me enough to come to me. They'll voice note me. Yeah. They'll literally be like, hey, Cass, like this guy said this, what should I reply? And it was at the point once where my mum had to be like, you actually can't help everyone. Yeah. And that's where my podcast was birthed from, as I was talking to these people so often that I was like, well, should I just put this in a bigger, longer form content to give the help and give the advice? Yeah. But I think that like that sentence of being a big sister is something that when I think of my audience, really resonates.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so honored that I got to grow up in front of them.
Yeah.
And I got to grow up with them.
Yeah.
And they've seen, like, I'm now in a really healthy relationship, but they're all the girls who read the heartbreak poetry from my crap ex-boyfriend. So, like, we've just been on this amazing evolution. And, yeah, they've believed in me and I believe in them. And I just really want to help with everything I put out there. So what you just said about numbers is I really relate to that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of power in not needing to have the biggest numbers.
Yep.
That can actually bring you more money, if we want to talk about it like that, because people are actually bought into what you're putting out there and selling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely makes for a selling your own thing when your numbers are strong like that.
Yeah.
As opposed to selling someone else's thing.
Yeah.
Because you obviously get the whole upside of it, right? Whereas like the guys with the big numbers doing brand deals, like they're so lucrative at that million, 2 million level that you don't even need to bother going investing in your own thing to do it because of how big the numbers can be. But when you're small, you can make the same amount as those guys because you take the whole upside.
Yes.
And like 2,500 books is insane. Like most people in New Zealand do not do that. Like I'm writing a book at the moment to launch mid-year, probably actually come out end of the year because of the way the publishing cycle works. But our goal is, our goal's high. It's like 10,000 copies. But the point of the 10,000 copies is because we're actually launching in the US. We've got a US publisher to do it. And so it's whatever. But like that 10,000 number, everyone's like, oh, you should be able to do that. Like you've got all these followers everywhere. And it's like, no, like 10,000 is insane. 10,000 is like such a far-fetched number to push for. But like it is actually, like it is for a book.
You want to do that like immediately or over a stretch of time? Immediately.
Pre-sale. Launch first week.
That's a decent goal.
Yeah, exactly. New York Times bestseller. That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 10,000
I was about to say, I was literally just thinking, what's the cutoff for New York Times bestseller? I think it's 10,000.
It's about 10K. If you're not above 10K, you're not going to make the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to make it. So that's kind of why we want to do it. But it's like crazy to do that. It's like so hard to be able to do something like that. So like it's quite cool to hear. I wanted to ask though, how much time do you spend in those DMs and talking to people? Like you might do less. Oh, I don't know how you do it, but like on an average, like what would you say, like a week or an hour, a day do you spend doing that? Because that's quite a lot. It's quite intense.
It is.
Yeah.
And the answer to that question is however much I can.
Interesting.
You know, if I had to ballpark it, there's days where 2 hours.
Yeah, wow.
And then there's days where I can't start because I know I'll never stop.
Yeah.
So it's like a 10, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But the other thing I love is the relationship sense of it is I might jump on for 10 minutes, talk to someone about skincare, and then 2 weeks later I open and there's 5 voice notes in there. I tried it. You're right. It works.
Yeah.
What do you think of this?
Yeah.
So it's almost like catching up with your friends on Facebook or whatnot. But to answer your question, it's hours a week.
Yeah.
It's sometimes hours a day.
Yeah.
And it also depends what I'm posting.
Yeah.
Because if I'm in a more reserved, perfect Barbie image Cass, cool dress era, which I can. Sometimes I just want to do that stuff. It's less engaging. But if I'm out there talking about foods I'm eating, you know, hormone imbalances and changes, a lot of the wellness stuff I really value, I open to a huge amount of feedback and a huge amount of questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting, hey, because like we're outside talking about other creators who post so much and you're like, oh my God, that's so much. But like so many people don't do what you do.
Yeah.
Like there's so much, like so many people don't spend hours a week in DMs.
Well, they probably don't have followers who would necessarily want that of them.
Nah.
Like I've kind of built my name off being that person, which I really pride myself on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I see social media as a tool to get out a bigger message.
Yeah.
I don't see it as my message.
Yeah. No, it's real interesting. It's the concept of like scaling the unscalable things. You know, like no, you can't scale DMing.
No.
Like you literally can't. Like, and like, you know, you could get like people to help you, but it wouldn't be authentic. You would know it would change the way 100%. They speak. It wouldn't be the same. And I think it's crazy. Like I actually don't think we've had a creator on here who does that ever. Hey, I don't think, Connor, we've ever heard a creator who spends that much time in the comments. Oh, in the DMs. Nah. It's not a thing that a lot of creators do. It's like quite unique, but it explains so much of your success that I've seen.
Yeah, it's funny too. Like, you would really laugh because people come up to me like on the street, if at a cafe, and they go into conversation as if we've been friends for years.
Yeah.
So I've got a cat called Moon. They'll be like, oh, you know how Moon, and yada yada, and Moon posted this, and that was so cute. And I'm like, I'm Cass. What's your name? But I love that because it's like they're so with me.
Yeah.
They've always been so with me, and I think was a huge part of the book is people were already on the journey.
Yeah.
It was a non-negotiable that they bought it.
Yeah.
They'd already signed up and paid a long time ago, you
Exactly.
know? Yeah.
Yeah.
How long has that been happening? Like, because you know how a lot of creators, they don't get the commentary, that the audience isn't there like that?
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming it's because you've been going for so long. But where did that start? Like, where did that really start to happen?
Talking about the writing and the eating disorder and opening to mental health, that was the start. I wasn't getting it beforehand. I was getting guys fire emoji reacting beforehand.
Yeah.
But the care, I think, was when I let people in. So that would have been 2018, 2017 is when it started, and it still rolls forward to today.
Yeah, interesting. That's cool. That is actually really cool. I think that if anyone's like creators listening, like they just don't invest the time to do that. Like, actually, even for myself, like I'm big on it too. Like I mean, my main platform's LinkedIn, where I built like it's like my most engaged audience by far. There's like 20,000 on there. And
That's sick.
yeah, and they're it's a funny one because it's where we started.
Yeah.
It's where we started.
On
it's
LinkedIn?
It's where most of our business comes from.
Do you think like a creator like me would be valuable on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
100%. If you're that engaged in your DMs and comments, you'd crush on LinkedIn. The thing with LinkedIn, the algorithm's built around micro communities. So you get fed stuff from people LinkedIn thinks you know, actually in person. So the more you comment and engage with people, like put comments on their stuff or DM them and everything, it shares your content with each other, but also with your little circle, as opposed to like LinkedIn, which is just purely interest graph, right? Oh, sorry, Instagram, which is purely interest graph. So if you're if you get in the DMs and you're messaging people who start to ask you questions, it's going to go, okay, cool, that circle loves Cass, and then their circle will probably love Cass too. So let's show their circle, which is kind of how Instagram originally used to be.
Yeah.
And so it's more like that. However, just like this year, the one change is that they've also got a short form video now. So they've got TikToks essentially on LinkedIn now. But they've got like a different lens to them. Yeah, there's a different lens to the videos on LinkedIn. But yeah, you'd crush because you would use your author entrepreneur status to run it.
So it's more business and less like entertainment?
It is. It definitely is. However, good entertaining content always still wins. Yeah. And there's money there, right? Like you can talk directly to the brand managers of the big companies, you know?
True.
So you could have like, or you could go and personally connect. See, this is the thing with LinkedIn is that you can connect with people. So it's a mutually assured connection. Like you'd go, okay,
you skip
brand.
the middleman, right? You're just going.
So like, what's a brand that you'd love to work with?
Mecca.
Okay, so you could go straight to the brand partnerships manager for Mecca on LinkedIn and just connect with them straight away and start a conversation. I've told so many young creators to do it. Like it's
so good.
It's so good. It's the best one. Yeah. Didn't you get your sponsor from? Didn't he come from LinkedIn?
Oh, he hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yeah. For your tour. When was that? Last year for Worlds.
Yeah.
So he got a sponsorship for his. Connor's a top scooter rider for New Zealand, and he got a sponsorship from the guy off LinkedIn who's just like, I'll just give you some money.
Yeah, just gave me a bunch of cash towards my trip.
Yeah, to go to Spain, Barcelona or something?
Yeah, LinkedIn's so underrated though. I feel like the thing with you see entertainment content, but because you obviously people either go to LinkedIn, they read all the stuff to find value, whether it's educational, emotional, entertainment. Entertainment might show up more on TikTok, but then the whole educational and
Yeah.
emotional side of things shows up on LinkedIn a lot more,
A
at
lot
least
more.
for me.
A lot more.
So then you can diversify yourself, you know, put your entertainment out somewhere, boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
But it's so good.
Yeah, you'd have with your type of brand and the way
Yeah.
that you look at your brand, that's exactly how you need to be on LinkedIn. And the reason you're probably good at it is because you started Instagram so early when you had to do that on Instagram. That's how Instagram used to work.
Totally.
Now it doesn't. Now you
Yeah.
just pop off reels and stuff, and that's how you'd grow fast. But on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
it's not. LinkedIn will turn it. I give it 2 years because they've rolled out short form video.
Right.
But you've still got a couple years to go that other strategy. The good thing with LinkedIn is because you can connect with people, is you can have just all the brand managers of all the brands you ever want to work with. Like people you want to sponsor the podcast long term, start connecting with them now. Right. And then you're showing clips of your podcast out on your LinkedIn and they're like, oh, this is great. I want to put our brand there.
Yeah, because then when they're on LinkedIn, they've got like their business hat on, so they're thinking like
True.
business. Whereas when they're on
True.
Instagram, they're with their
They're
kid at
ju-
home.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
not doing
That's
that.
a really good point.
Yeah.
So on Instagram, they'll probably message you about their boy problems. And on LinkedIn, they'll be like,
They'll
how do
pay
we get
some
our
money.
brand as part of your setup?
So could I repurpose content? Like,
Yeah.
could I post like my teaser
Yeah.
for my Herc Noble podcast
100%.
on LinkedIn and be like, I just chatted to Herc, yada yada.
100%.
Okay, I'm gonna stalk your LinkedIn's and
Yeah.
get some inspiration.
LinkedIn is a great one. So, but I think like for people listening, like the reason why I'd suggest it to you more than most is because to do it, you need to engage.
Right.
You have to be engaging with people on LinkedIn. So whenever I stop commenting back because I'm busy or whatever, let's say just a week I've gone snowed under. Actually, last week was pretty bad. I've got about 70 comments to get back to on LinkedIn just from last week's posts.
Yeah.
And I just haven't because I haven't had time. But it will kill my engagement. I have to solidly lock in and get it done.
It's conversational.
You got to have conversations.
Okay.
And you can have massive conversation threads in the comments. Like people have full on conversations, like it's Twitter. You know?
I was gonna say
Yeah.
this is giving me a Twitter spec.
Yeah, it's similar to that. And they'll respond to a post that you put up. And so now I just do all my videos that go on my Instagram. I've been experimenting. I just repurposing them all to LinkedIn just to see what catches.
Yeah.
But all along on LinkedIn, what catches is my journey stories. All the journey stories are the ones that work.
Yeah.
So talking about like the new office and different things that we're doing, that goes really well on
the
LinkedIn.
Transformation vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, that goes really well. Anyway, it's not about
That's
my
awesome.
LinkedIn, but you should look into it.
Yeah.
Just hit us up if you want some advice on it. It's fine.
Thanks. I totally will.
I want to know more about the book though. I want to know like why a book? Like how did that... I know you've been writing and you had the Tumblr and stuff, but like a book's a big undertaking. Like what drove you to do it? Just because you're so in love with writing?
Yeah, my mum, I really have to credit a lot. When I was growing up, she read me every single storybook under the sun until I fell asleep. Books were just a huge part
Cool.
of
Got
who
it.
I was.
Yeah.
And I naturally at school didn't excel in anything other than writing.
Got
like
it.
there was one time at school where something went really wrong with the syllabus and basically 90% of the King's College English class failed. And there were 3 students that passed and I was one of them.
Oh.
And you would have never guessed it. It's just a talent that I kind of had naturally that I also loved.
Yeah.
I had gone through this journey with bulimia, and for me, writing was
Yeah.
how I healed it. And
Cool.
for myself, from a marketing perspective,
Yeah.
the concept of bully, stop beating yourself up. If
Yeah.
the bully's inside your head, not externally, as a play on words from bulimia, I knew when that came to me, that was genius.
Yeah.
I was like, that's
Yeah.
marketing genius.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
no
yeah,
one's
yeah.
doing that. It's a short word. It's memorable.
Yeah.
I could see the whole creative project. A really good friend of mine did the stencil drawings for
Okay,
me. I
cool.
wanted to
Yeah.
partner it with like words and drawings. And I had the full project in my head. So a book felt natural, and a lot of people were just asking for it. They're just commenting on those little posts going, do you have a book? Would you do a book? It just naturally, and they almost formed quite an expectation of me online to do one because the writing was doing so well.
Got it.
It's the natural move for a good writer, I guess.
Yeah.
That I was like, that it came to me. I mean, it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I
Yeah.
was doing. I like one of my favorite books is called Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur.
Okay.
And I got a ruler and measured her book and literally made mine the same size because I didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
And it
Funny.
was just, I pulled it together from friends and from paying real cheap freelancers on a
Yeah.
platform called Upwork.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah.
little people like,
Yeah.
can you format this into a cover?
Got
and
it.
just totally bootstrapped it, had no money, like
Yeah.
printed my first round of printing had 20 odd spelling mistakes, maybe 50. You know, it was so far from perfect, but I would have been 21 at the time, and I think that was the magic in it.
Yeah. And it was all self-published on Amazon?
All self-published.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I was on Amazon, and then I moved for my second book, Darling, I moved to printing and distributing it myself.
Okay, all yourself?
Yeah.
No, you haven't used any publisher?
No,
Oh, awesome.
I never had any help.
Yeah, great. I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's scary though.
Yeah.
Taking all that risk on your own and not like, how did you know, did you just have confidence because of how well Bully sold that you do the second one fully on your own? Is that why? Because you had the confidence?
Well, Amazon takes a huge cut, so they take
Most
60
of
or
it.
70%.
Yeah.
And so I sat there and I thought, and like when I made money off Bully, I thought I was the man. I was living in New York. I didn't even have to have a job. I'd self-published this book, and I was like, we are on.
Yeah.
We are partying. This is great. I had like cash and interest coming towards me, and I had no idea how to handle any of it, basically. And then I kind of was like, they're taking 70%. This could be a lot better if they didn't take 70%.
Yeah, okay, got it.
And then also I was living in America, but my readership was New Zealand and Australia and the UK.
Yeah.
And the Netherlands randomly. It's always funny where you get picked up. So people in New Zealand were having problems with the book not coming on time. What happens if the book is faulty or got wet in the mail? So I wanted more control over my product. I wanted more control over the printing. Sometimes they were getting the color of the cover wrong. I wanted to be able to go and see it and sign it off. I wanted to be able to know if someone had an issue, we could solve it quickly. So it was all those little parts that made me go, okay, I've been this successful. I've sold 2,500 in my first week. I've sold 5,000 in 3-4 weeks, whatever it was. I have confidence I'm at least going to sell 1,000 of my new one. Yeah. So I can put the money in. My dad actually loaned me that. And then pre-order the books. Yeah. And learn how to do it all myself. Then I'm taking 100% risk, but I'm taking 100% profit. Yeah. So that was the change, basically.
And just so like for people who are figuring this out, so when you did it on your own, you went across, you wrote the book, did all the cover and everything, and then you went to a printer and got them to do it all, and then you just bought a bunch of books ahead. And how many did you buy ahead of time at the first order, the first run?
I believe it was 1,800.
Cool. So you bought 1,800 books, which, isn't cheap. You got to put a bunch of money in, and then you just created your own, Shopify store or something like that? Yep. And sold it all through that. Yep. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was...
That's cool, though.
Yeah.
And did you... I haven't seen... I seen the bit about how the first book sold. How did the second book go in the same sort of time frames?
Really well. I sold out in my first 10 or 20 minutes. I sold 1,800 books.
So good.
And then we were in the middle of COVID. So we were locked down.
Got it.
And so then we had to, my dad and I remember we were allowed to drive because our book printer was out south.
Yeah.
So we went out, we got another 1,000 books. Yeah. It's just me and my dad, lugging books. And this epic book printing New Zealand shout out he was just there by himself making his books.
Got it.
And I think I did 3 or 4 reruns of needing to pick up Darling. Yeah. And then I sold out a Bully because I then sold a bundle of 2 of them together. Got it. So then I was having to go, started to print Bully for me. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you brought Bully in-house too.
I brought Bully there. I stopped Amazon and then I was fully for myself. Yeah. Amazing. Printing. But the thing about it is you have to put the cash in first. So would I have done that for my first book? At 28, maybe. At 21, gosh, no. You know, because that's the great thing about Amazon. Yeah. You upload this PDF. Exactly. It's literally a PDF, and then you get a hard copy book, and you're just like, awesome, because I had no idea how any of that was going to work. Yeah. Oh, the Amazon self-publishing service, although they take a big chunk, is so good. It's great.
Given how little people sell, actually.
Yeah. If I'd known it was going to be that successful, I potentially wouldn't have done it. But I mean,
it doesn't matter.
It took all the business risk and financial risk out of it. I couldn't have done it without them.
How many in total, roughly, like just a ballpark of both books combined, do you think you've sold now?
It would be over 10,000.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so good. And like people listening, like 10,000 is huge.
Yeah.
Like
that's over years, I will say.
Yeah, but still huge.
Yeah.
Because like you're 28, you could write 10 more books.
Yeah.
Right. And then like it's never the first couple books of someone's who catches either. Like it's very rare that you get a J.K. Rowling drop Harry Potter and blow the stratosphere off stuff. But like so I'm writing a book at the moment, and as going through the process, you're learning all these things about the book industry and like how little people actually sell.
Yeah, totally.
Like I met someone who is like an established author. That's all they do, and they'd be lucky to do like 4,000 or 5,000 a year, and they've got heaps of books.
Wow.
You know, like, and this is their whole thing, and I don't think people understand like how big 10,000 is. So it's just so people are listening, like. People confuse numbers because they'll be like, 10,000.
Like 10,000 followers, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, it's not that big of a deal, but fuck, it's huge.
Thank you so
10,000
much.
massive. So well done.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. So you got books. Love it.
Yeah.
Any plans? Well, you probably do have some plans, but is there any works on thirds and fourths? Because
Yeah,
there's only
there
two
is.
so far, eh?
There's only two.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting journey because I went through the process of as a creative where I suddenly felt a lot of pressure after two had done really well.
Yeah.
Number one was quite burnt out because I had no actual support in doing this.
Yeah.
So I almost needed to take a few years to just like recombobulate. I don't know. Like I suddenly,
100%.
I remember feeling burnt out. I remember feeling pressure.
Yeah.
I remember
To do the second.
to do the third.
Oh, to do the third. Sorry. Okay. So
And
after
then
done. Yeah.
I'd kind of just rolled, and that was when my career influencing really picked up.
Got it.
I was working with a lot of brands consistently. I was modeling, and that kind of started to take the focus slightly. And then I spoke at my old high school, and I signed to an actual book agent.
Got it.
And I'm now working with her to find my footing for the third.
Yeah.
But I was in a really unhealed, hard place when I wrote those first two books.
Yeah.
And people ask these questions, to someone like Adele.
Yeah.
Are you scared you're not going to be able to write the hits when you're not heartbroken?
Yeah. I was just going to say the same thing.
It's a little bit like that for me of like finding my
Yeah.
healthy message and not writing from this monster that I was living with,
Yeah.
So I'm just letting myself kind of take that time. I do have half a fiction book that I've written.
Oh, cool.
So I'm kind of playing with that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd obviously love to do a self-help book. I think that's a really natural evolution one day.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of advice we give to clients about writing from a scar, not a wound.
Yeah.
So
I
like,
wrote from a wound.
but it's okay at that point. I think actually it's a little different because like the way the books were, I think you would have written from a wound if you did a third one. You know what I mean? Because
Facts.
it's a different. I think those other books probably had a place in the way they talked from.
They did.
But you've learned enough now and you've evolved enough, and then you just have to go through the healing process till it's scarred up, and now you talk from it. Yeah. And actually, you give better advice.
You do.
You give a better advice because you still haven't quite figured out for yourself what's the problem or what's the issue and things. So, I mean, it was the same with like you mentioned Adele because that was where my head went as well. Like people talk about her not being able to do that, but then she did eventually. But she still came from this place of like she had matured a lot and grown up and figured out, talked from a place of a scar, not a wound. So that's an interesting take. Okay, so you got some books in the works, and then your influence career, modeling career, that sort of started to be. But I want to jump forward a little bit to now. So now you've got the podcast, and how many episodes is the podcast?
It's got 49 episodes, I think.
49 episodes.
49,
Yeah.
something like that.
Over what time period?
From 2020 until now, 4 years.
Until now, 4 years. And what are the plans? Because you've rebranded that, right? That's a rebrand, or is it the same brand?
So this is a big story.
Yeah, please. I want this story. Yeah.
So I have found through my story, obviously, of transformation and health, a deep love for health and wellness. Created a brand called Models, which the tagline is "Find your model of success."
Cool.
Helping people find their best way of being, their best self,
Cool.
their way of transforming through anything from the body image through to manifestation.
Cool.
And I rebranded my podcast to be called Remodel, as in remodel yourself
Got
and to
it.
bring it under my business name, Models.
Yep.
Models operates as an online platform. It's
Yep.
not released yet.
Okay. Yep.
Classic business thing. I thought it was going to be released, and then I'm like, there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
So Instagram's there.
That's all right.
But it's going to be a health and wellness platform
Cool.
functioning, online in those
Yep.
online course spaces. So I brought my podcast under there, and I kind of had this moment where I thought, have I just made a massive mistake?
Really?
And I had to take a beat and sit back and go, I think I was trying to get close to what I'm seeing online and I'm seeing perform and I'm seeing do well versus who I actually am.
Got it.
So I actually saw a decrease in my listenership when I rebranded to Remodel.
Yeah.
And the feedback I was getting from a lot of people, which will make sense to you knowing my story, is
Yeah.
they're like, Cass, it feels like we have to pay for this.
I got it.
Even though it was free content, it felt very,
Interesting.
I guess, more sterile to
Yeah.
my audience
Yeah.
and markety.
Yeah.
And I posted a reel on my Instagram and was like, have I just made a massive mistake? What name do you like better?
Yeah.
And by basically a 90% majority,
Yeah.
everyone was like, Sass with Cass.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I was like,
Got it.
oh my gosh, okay, I agree. And there are goals I have for the podcast and opportunities that were lining up for the podcast
Yeah.
that Sass with Cass was going to make a lot more sense for. And there were businesses and brands that I was speaking to who were saying to me, we'd really love to have your name in the title.
Yeah. Cool.
Which kind of makes sense too.
Cool.
So then I was like, okay, I think I need to go back to Sass with Cass.
Yeah.
But then now I'm worried I'm exhausting my audience because I've got Cass, Models by Cass, Quotes with Cass, Sass with Cass. It's a lot of freaking Cass. But yeah, that's where we're at.
I'm not sure. I think when you create other brands underneath the one brand, I think the way that most people should look at it, it gives you opportunity to find more niche audiences.
Yes.
Rather than trying to take one audience everywhere. I don't think that's the right way to look at it. Like, oh, my audience on my Cass personal
point.
is going to come everywhere. It's not really how it ends up playing out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good
of
point.
course, there's some crossover.
It's like look at Mr. Beast.
Yeah, Mr. Beast is a great
Yeah.
example. Like the biggest audiences in the world, and they're all different.
Yeah.
You know, and so we're the same too. Like my TikTok audience is very different to my LinkedIn audience, which is extremely different to the attention seekers Instagram or TikTok audience. They're just not even close.
Wow.
The same. There's obviously a crossover, but like I don't want it to be crossed over.
Yeah.
Like I want them to be
Yes.
different.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't talk to like a 59-year-old white businessman from Freeman's Bay this on LinkedIn the same way. I can't talk to him the same way I talk to people on TikTok to like a 24-year-old person trying to start an e-commerce startup. Like they're worlds
Such
apart.
different people.
Worlds apart. Have completely different perspectives of life, levels of wealth, levels of ability to do things. That if I talk to the way I talk to this like, you know, guy who's established and, you know, cracking life, if I talk to this 23-year-old the same way, they'd be like, mate, you're out of touch.
Yeah.
Like you have no clue. So actually, if you think about your different brands like that, then you should start to think, okay, who are these really for? Like how, what niche of my main audience are they for? And go after that audience, as opposed to trying to go, oh, guys that love me over here, you want to see my other stuff, you have to come over here.
Such a good point.
Because otherwise they're just like, why?
Yeah,
Why do I
yeah.
have to go there? I'm
Yeah.
already here. Like, I don't want to have to follow all your shit, bro. So go off. If you're going to create another brand like that, have it be its own audience and go after it. And you might see that like one of them takes off because you get hyper niched into
Yeah.
it. And so, I mean, we see that. Like the attention seeker brand obviously took off because we hyper niched into humorous office antics.
Yeah, super funny.
And it just went off. And humor spreads faster than
Yeah.
anything. But whereas like my personal brand that speaks a lot more serious, or I don't know if it's serious as much, but it's at least more business orientated, is growing way slower. But it's a very different audience who's I know have, I won't say they have money, but like they're the type of people we want to work with as a business, if that makes sense. So I'm all for like people creating other brands, but don't try split your audience. That's
Yeah.
silly. Find new ones.
Yeah,
Find new ones with
that's
it.
good advice. And
Yeah.
I think we hear this advice in social media of niche down, niche down, niche down. And it's like, yeah, I can niche down in my broad spectrum of who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to be fully creative. I'm
Yeah.
allowed to try new things in business.
Yeah. I say it to brands all the time as well, that you can have multiple profiles. And a lot of people listening will think, oh, if I've just got my one profile, I'll run on it. And they might look at what you've done and gone, oh, that's silly. You should have kept it all together. Some people
Yeah.
have that mindset, and I just think it's wrong. I think you can have as many accounts as you want.
Yeah.
I just think that if you're going to do it, why? And the reason for me is to find new audiences, not to find more of the same. Otherwise, you're better off concentrating all your efforts into one place. And what we've seen on like Instagram and TikTok, actually, like it is good to niche into one style, but actually the niches are quite broad with what you can do. So a good example, actually, we're talking about Louis Davis off camera.
Yeah.
his niche is that I'm showing you that a brown man that looks like me can be loving father and not disrespect his culture. Like that's his brand at the moment.
Yeah.
And he's been running it for a while now, and it's a fucking awesome brand what he's done with it. But that's his niche. And so he can dance with his girls on one, he can go fishing on another, he can love his wife on one other. You know, he can do all these different things. But his niche is, his whole thing is, I hope when you open this app, and if I'm the first time you've seen a brown man like me, I'm the impression you get of what we're like as people, not these stereotypes that have been perpetuated before in media. That is a niche. But most people go, no, dancing TikToks is your niche.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
No.
It's the purpose of the brand, that's the niche.
Totally.
So your Cass brand can still have this greater why, and you can do all the stuff. You can do the fashion, you can do the lifestyle stuff and all the other things, or whatever you want to do. That might seem like you're splitting your niche up. But actually you're not, because you got some other higher purpose that's into it. So anyway, I like it. I think it's smart.
Okay, cool. I really like that. And I think I am just someone who can naturally get quite obsessed. So I'm obsessed with health and fitness. I'm obsessed with writing. I'm obsessed with being entertaining.
Yeah.
And it's almost, if I was to put that in one page, I was just like, well, I would be really overwhelmed as a follower to be like, here's all this health and now he's writing and now here's a podcast. It's like, at least if I've got Cass, and then if you're part of that main audience or if you're a new audience finding me, you can go, that's my jam. I do like health, or that's my jam. I like the podcast. But to go back to your original question, I guess what I did is I moved the podcast from sitting under models to then sit under Cass, which feels more authentic. And I feel like the name Sass with Cass gives me a broader permission slip to be, you know, I've interviewed an OnlyFans creator, I've interviewed Herc, and then I also do motivational stuff. Yeah. And that's how I want it. Like, it is sassy. It's literally sass, you know?
Yeah, nah. I love it. I think it's smarter. Okay, then. That then leads me on to, like, where do you, so you've got this models platform.
Yeah.
You've got more books coming. You're obviously growing this podcast, but, like, where do you see it? Like, tell me this. I mean, if you're obsessed, you probably have some 5-10 year goals. So what are they? What are you looking for? Like, what's the goals? When you're my age, you're 10 years younger than me. So, like, tell me when you hit Stan's age, where are you?
Really? Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Just starts looking younger.
Hey, I'll take it. You want to compliment me, you'll take it back.
You do. I would love to have a more in-person presence.
Cool.
Something like live shows, live touring the podcast, a talk show, a TV show. I really love that. I love being on stage.
Yeah.
I love public speaking. It's always, I feel like people think I'm so weird, but I'm like, get me out there.
Cool.
I hosted a wellness event in February last year. We sold 100 tickets in like 4 minutes.
Amazing.
We had a 200-person wait list.
Cool.
And I spoke, and then I did meditation and journaling, and we had Pilates, and that was my dream. Like, if I could do stuff like that all the time, translating that online following to in-person and really tangible things is a huge goal for me.
Cool.
I would love models to be my full-time thing.
Cool.
I would love to, I have all this knowledge and all this information, and I would love to share it and have it functioning as a business.
Got it.
Fluidly.
Yeah.
So to be essentially an online creator.
Like, it's a subscription model style.
It's a subscription model, or a course.
For a subscription community sort of thing with course and knowledge in it. Yeah, cool.
Totally.
Got it.
So you'd come in and you'd go, I want to learn about, manifestation. I want to learn about goal setting. I want to learn about eating disorder healing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's going to be supported by a clinical psychologist too.
Cool.
So all very hopefully helpful things.
Yeah.
So that's my goals. In-person live shows or a tour, I guess. And I toured my book, which I loved as well.
Yeah, nice.
And then to have an online platform.
Wait. That's your 10-year goals?
Yeah.
Or is that like 2025
That's kind
goals?
of like my 3 to 5 year goals.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
That seems like you're already... This is what we do as a team. We like set these like what we call rocks for the quarter, and it's like, oh, actually, we're halfway through already doing this.
Yeah.
Let's set something bigger.
Yeah.
That's not your 10-year goals, right?
No,
that's
no,
like
no.
you're
That's
about
like,
to do
that's,
that.
Yeah, that's
you're
like
on
my
the path to do
3-year
that.
goals.
What's 10-year? Like, what's the big dream? Because I know, like, I don't often always ask people this, but I can tell the type of person you're. Like, Where are you trying to go to? Like, what happens when models are successful? What happens when you get being paid 5 to 6 figures to speak on stage all the time, and that when you run an event, you can put 4,000 people in through it? Like, where are you then?
One of the biggest dreams of my life was to have my books made into a film.
Cool.
And to produce, direct it, act in it.
Love it.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
I don't say that as a goal because when I say a goal, I think of something I can realistically achieve. And it's not that I can't realistically achieve that. I'm just not grabbing those fruits yet. It's a vision.
Yeah.
So something there or...
That's cool. Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah,
Hello,
like
Sunshine.
a Reese Witherspoon
That's
kind of vibe, and or along the lines of like an Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
More of like a household name, personality, a core brand that people associate literally with the first and last name that has the ability also to give back to her community.
Yeah,
I think is something I really associate with her.
Yeah. Cool. That's cool.
Like I've always just had the biggest dreams. Like I've always just wanted to get as big as I could go.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily know like, what do you think I should do? What do you think a good 10-year goal would be?
No, I think that's a great 10-year goal. Like we we think of it a lot here. Like our 10-year goal as a company is to have 10 billion followers across all of our profiles that we own. And it's meant to scare you. Like it's meant to be almost impossible. We were sitting and doing the calculation as a leadership team, and Connor was there with us, and we're like, oh, we should do 1 billion followers. That's crazy. And then me and him were like, we did the calculations in our head together, and he's like, well, what's 1,000 people? What if we're...
1 million, isn't it?
Yeah.
1,000 people with 1 million followers.
Yeah. Will we be 1,000 staff one day? Could we get them all to 1 million followers? Yeah. Well, that's 1 billion. Okay, so we need to make it 10 billion, you know? Like, because we're backing ourselves that we can grow followerships. Like, that's what we do as a company, and why can't we do it for all our team? And there are agencies out there with 10,000 staff. So surely we can get 1,000 of our 10,000 staff if we ever get there to have 1 million followers. So you have some loose, like, we could do it, but actually it's almost impossible. Like it's so crazy big. It scares you, but when you start to think that way, it changes all your steps to get there. Because now we're like, well, not one of us can do it. No, you can't have one profile 10 billion. There's not 10 billion people to follow you. So you can't have one person. So instantly it changes our approach to go, okay, how do we grow accounts that we own? That's why we created, I don't know if you've seen our dating void that we created, right? Like, that's why we created that. It's like now we've got this other brand that might get to 5 or 10 million followers eventually. Across multiple platforms. And then you just keep creating those sorts of things. You create other brands, other shows, hire more people, develop more brands. So it changes your whole approach to how you run a business. And then we can be pretty hard and fast. We can say, is this helping us get to 10 billion? And if it's not, kill it. Right? Stop it. So if you're going, no, I want to be Oprah Winfrey, or like, you know, whatever that looks like, or Reese Witherspoon or something, then you have to go, okay, well, how do I get there? And does my podcast help me get there? And in your case, yes, of course it does. So cool, double down on the podcast. And then you might say like, you might actually say, does models help me get there? And you might say it does in the short term, because long term it doesn't, because long term you're trying to be Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey doesn't need an online learning platform. But in the short term, it helps you generate revenue to grow the other things, right? And you might exit. So then in your head, you're like, okay, models is for an exit. Okay, now then if it's for an exit, does that mean I should get investors? Oh, maybe it does, because I don't care about 100% of $1 million exit. I care about 10% of $100 million exit. Does that make sense? So then you change your whole way of how you approach everything, because you're like, no, I'm just doing this to fund the next stage to get to Oprah. Does that make sense? So,
very smart.
So having those big hairy goals that are crazy, don't look at them as like, they don't have to be goals as such. They're like a loose path. Like we may never even get close to 10 billion followers, but it definitely drives us forward in all the decisions we make. And there is so many things in our business that we do that we probably shouldn't do from a smart financial business perspective today that cost us money because of what they will eventually return. Like dating void cost us about 100 and something grand last year, probably. Easy. Made zero money.
Wow.
And then this year we got one on Thursday that we're going to earn 14 grand for.
Wow.
Right? And it's like, and then by March, we will be filming in Sydney and Melbourne as well. right? So it's already escalating.
It's already cooking.
But maybe July last year, maybe August, definitely like September, October, I was about to can it. I was like, we got to stop. This is costing me a fucking fortune. I can't afford it. But then we persevered and we got to this point.
Yeah.
So in the moment, you're like, it gives you the confidence to stick at your process because you're like, no, I'm going to be Oprah. If I don't do this, I won't be Oprah.
Yeah.
But then it also gives you confidence to go, okay, this thing I'm doing is great, but it only serves this purpose. So be okay to kill it after that or exit it or whatever. And that's like with us, like it makes me, like I'll never sell attention seeker.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a business I'll exit because if I do, then I won't ever get to that notoriety that we're trying to get to. And because the point of getting 10 billion followers, you can do whatever you want.
Totally.
Literally do whatever you want.
Totally.
You can put someone into presidency if you've got 10 billion followers, right? Like you can do whatever you want. That's what we want. It's a power trip.
It is.
It's a 100% power trip.
Currency.
Yeah. And yeah, so anyway, to your point, like that Oprah thing, define that really well. Give it tactical numbers. Like what does it look like? And then you'll start to reaffirm everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
And then models goes to you like, I'm not saying kill models. I don't actually know enough, but you know
I
what I mean?
understand your perspective of like long-term and short-term things and things serving their purpose. I really like that. That's something that I've always lived by and tried to do online. And for anyone listening who is new to creating or is in those baby stages, I have always turned up as if there was a million people watching me.
Yeah.
And I literally don't care if it's 100, 1,000 or 10,000 because I understand that it fluctuates. It's like golf. You don't change your shot every time just on how far the ball goes. You keep your technique and you tweak like something tiny, right?
Yeah.
And that's been so huge. And holding yourself to that standard of that bigger goal. Okay, it's 10 billion followers or it's Oprah Winfrey or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And thinking to yourself, how would she or he show up right now?
Yeah.
What is the decision they would make? How can I embody this?
Yeah.
And beyond a business sense, in a personal sense, boundaries you're reinforcing, your lifestyle choices, fitness, what you're consuming, who you're following, who you're actually being, hold yourself immediately to the standard of what you want, to your goal. And my belief and what I've always practiced is when I'm in that energy, when I am that person, then my reality catches up to me.
Yeah.
Then the cool podcast guests come in, then the cool opportunities, then more followers, whatever it might be. It's like the universe has to fill the vacuum. But if you don't actually take the action and start not just saying, oh yeah, one day we want to have 10 billion followers, just like you said, it's who is that person right now?
Yeah.
What are they doing? What's the decisions they're making? And acting as if it's here, basically.
Oh, absolutely. Like, you know, people call it lots of different things, and I'm not much of like a manifestation type of no, definitely not. Fuck it.
Wow, what a letdown.
Don't start me on that one. We've got enough girls on the team to do it for me. But I am the type of person who believes in like perspective, and that like the way that you see to choose life is the way that things will happen to you.
Yeah.
And that I'm a big believer in like asking the world for what you want, but not like, I'm not asking Mother Nature, right? I'm not asking Gaia or some special force. Like I literally ask people, like you talked about like wanting to do more speaking opportunities, right? And was it, no, not last year, before it must have been 2023. We had a goal for this company for me to do a certain amount of talks.
Cool.
And so I just started posting online everywhere. Like I want to speak. Every time I spoke, clipped up the things, put my speaking talks online, little clips, long clips. And I mean, I think that year I did like 22 talks or something.
Wow.
And it was awesome. I loved it. I got way better at talking on stage. I also got lots of good content. That was another good thing for me as well. And then last year kind of changed. We sort of pulled back, but this year the goal is to do a lot more of it, just because like I'm launching the book this year as well. Totally. And so get your name out there. So what I'm trying to say is I'm not going to go and say to the world, like in my head, like just put it out there, manifestation of like, I can get this thing. But I definitely know that if you go and ask the world, like actually just go tell the world multiple times, people want to do stuff. Yeah. People love doing things. Yeah. And if you go to the world and you say to the world like, hey, I'll speak at your event and I'll do it for free, you know, because I just want to speak.
Yeah.
you'll just get flooded with opportunities.
Totally.
And then, of course, people are like, oh, I want to be paid for it. And it's like, yeah, look, you can. It depends what are you trying to do? Like, first of all, to get paid, I think you need to be like sought after as a speaker. And I think that's different.
Yes.
And like I was saying to you off camera outside, the longer you can hold off charging for the thing, like in taking money for it, the bigger the checks will be long run. So for me, I didn't I got paid for some speaking gigs and things, but only because they like, oh, how much is your fee? And I was like, all right, well, it's this. I'll speak for free, but if you're gonna pay me, then I'll take it. But just putting it out there and telling the world I want to speak will give you the things. Like me putting out saying I want 52 podcast guests this year for this Stansplaining, and starting to put it out in the world. And Mal's like, who was in contact with you, like she's just gone, yep, cool, puts it out everywhere. Yeah. And then, like I said, we got like 10 booked already just for the next couple of weeks. So I agree. You have these big, hairy, audacious goals for 10 years. You figure out what are the things that are going to move me closer. You might be wrong, it doesn't matter. But do you think they're going to move me closer? And then you tell the world, hey, I want to do this thing. And then everyone's like, yeah, we'll do it with you. We'll go for it. And it works every time. Works every time. I mean, like it was like your sponsorship. You just started telling the world, "Hey, I need some money to go sleep." The guy's like, "Oh, bro, here's some money," you know. And he went and saw him. He's like, "Oh, what do you want for it?" He's like, "Oh, nothing." He says, "I just want to help the bro."
Can I ask you what your book's about?
It's about this idea of attention first. So, in business, there has always been historically two ways to grow a business: time or money. You either inject money into it or you inject time into it. Some of the biggest businesses in the world are like 100 years old. They've just been around forever. They're good businesses, don't get me wrong, but because of time, they've been able to compound that effect and just grow into these behemoths, right? Other businesses who have grown faster, take Google, Facebook, some of the bigger businesses that we have today have had just like millions and billions of dollars injected into them to scale. And so with money, you can buy audiences, you can do whatever you need to do. And with time, you have this accumulation effect. And my theory is that there's a third option that we have today because of the way the world is, that you can just go out and get attention, and you can do that for free pretty cheaply. Yeah. And that a lot of small businesses who don't want to get investment but also want to scale quite quickly to support their families or their communities, you need to go out and get attention first.
Totally.
Yeah. And so that's the concept. And then it's about these 5 stages of it that, in my opinion, are like the 5 stages are built as a way of giving some people reassurance of where they're at. So like stage 1 is your personal network. Like don't push past your personal network until you've saturated that. Most people, when they launch their first product or business, they go to friends and family or whatever, or just their business network, and they sell to them. And that's fine. Like in New Zealand, you hear a lot of small businesses going, oh, I get all my business from referrals. Cool. Great. Great business model. To get to the next one, you need like a real hyper-focused, niched audience. And it's kind of like your audience, like it's real hyper-focused. You can make millions of dollars off that. You'd never have to move past it. We did it with LinkedIn for a long time. I mean, I was probably 12 staff before we even went to TikTok. You know, like it was about that, like you guys, when you guys came on board, it was about 12, just LinkedIn. Hyper focused, and I think I was only like
just 12 written post and photo, no video.
Yeah, not even video. 12,000 people probably by that stage. I had real hyper focused niched audience, and you can build a big business on that. You've proven it.
Yeah, live off that.
And then the third stage is like growing these like much broader, crazy big audiences, like where you're going on interest graphs and you're just going really wide to go narrow. So to get the full 100,000 audience I want, I need 10 million people to see me to make sure I get the 100,000 I want. Because if I just go over the 100,000, I might actually only get 10,000 of them. So it's going after everyone. And like to know to step into that stage when you're ready, like you don't have to go there. You step up in stages when your rate of growth slows in the stage you're in. Yeah. So like if you're not growing at the speed you want to grow, maybe it's time to go, okay, we need to start going viral. Yeah. Like we need to step to that next level. But if your rate of growth is good, then don't move. Like saturate that. And then stage 4 is when you start to like really push into owned audiences, like email lists, databases, things like that you can speak to these people without ever having to like worry about an algorithm. Yeah. You have to build that all the way along, but you don't invest the money into it till you really can and you're ready for that next rate of growth. And then stage 5 being like the Mr. Beast of the world or the Kardashians, like don't a lot of people run their business or their creative life trying to be Mr. Beast. And it's like, bro, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
You're doing what he's doing now, but not willing to do the things he did 10 years ago. That's the reason he's there. Are you going to say Logan Paul 100,000 times? No. But you also can't go and spend $20 million on a video. So don't try to be that guy if you're not willing to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's the permission to like not get inside your own head about you're not where you should be.
Totally.
No, I'm at stage 2. I should be at stage 2.
Totally.
I'm making good money.
Yeah.
Don't need to move past. At this stage, I'll move past when I've maximized my growth at that point. So that's the premise of the book.
Yeah.
And
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And very helpful.
yeah, I think for my target audience, it's really helpful, which are the
for
small
anyone.
business owners.
Yeah.
Small, medium business owners. And also people who are like, oh, I'm going to be a creator. And they're like, but they're not willing to do hours of DMing every week.
Yeah.
You know, like they're not willing to put in the hard
building.
work.
You know, I think I've always played the long game.
Yeah.
And I've never wanted to play the short game. I would rather have a 20,000 following audience with people who actually care and bring real results to any brand I promote or to my own brand, or we just have a great relationship.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who just want a big number right now and think that immediately translates to cash. I know people with 3 million followers who make nothing on Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's just such a different kettle of fish.
That's it. And that's actually like part of, like a little part of the book is like when you race too far ahead,
Yeah.
that you don't know how to use the audience right.
Yes.
And
yeah.
so it doesn't mean you can't retrospectively fix that.
No.
And actually, I wouldn't say no to 3 million followers day one.
Yeah.
Like, of course, I could figure it out. But yeah, that's the point of the book. Like a lot of the small business owners you meet, or even smaller creators who are making a living off it, they're like, oh man, I'm stuck at like 20,000 followers. And I'm like, are you living good? Are you happy? Like, yeah. Well, shut the fuck up. Like, you're like, you know, like imagine if you told me you were unhappy about you're like 28, done all this stuff, like fuck off, like get fucked, you know, like mate, just like give it another 10 years. Like I was still working for other people.
Yeah.
You know, at that time, I didn't start this business till I was 32.
Wow.
You know, so you got 4 years before you're even where I started this.
Wow.
On my own in my mate's spare bedroom.
Wow.
Right? So like
That's
you
so
think about how much
cool.
further ahead you already are, that you don't need to go and try to race forward. Not saying you are thinking that, but other people do. And I mean, he's like 25-year-olds. I think it's some of the lessons like this guy and other people have learned.
Yeah, but I feel like as much as you explain it,
People don't.
it just doesn't work.
People
You've
don't.
told me a million times, and it's still
You're
like
better.
I still want to race forward though.
Yeah, but you're much better though. You used to be.
Yeah, I am
You
much
used
better,
to be
but
so like, fuck, I haven't got it. Now you kind of understand,
That's super funny.
but still wants it.
Yeah.
But still wants it. And I think it's something that you learn over time. Like as you mature, you start to realize
you can't just be like that.
you can't just be like that.
Nah,
Nah,
it takes years.
it takes years.
Yeah.
There's no way at 21 I would have listened to me. No.
Yeah,
fucking
totally.
way.
Like there's like an element of wisdom and there's an element of your actual personality and emotional growth that has to provide the value almost.
Yes. Oh, and when you're young, especially young men, are so arrogant that we just think we can do anything. And then when you see like if I'm 21, I see a 38-year-old doing what he's doing, I'm like, well, I could do that. I'm going to go do that. And it's like, fuck, no, you can't, you dumbass. Like you have no experience in life right now. You could work towards it, sure. And some people who are young can do crazy, extraordinary things, but they have different circumstances. They've come from different worlds. You know, like Mr. Beast is a good example. You know, he's like 13 or whatever when he started doing his, or 12 when he started doing his podcast, YouTube stuff. And he was obsessive about it from that age. So of course, by the time he was
Obsession is
22, he'd done 10 years of YouTube.
Yeah.
10 years is crazy time to be on YouTube doing that sort of stuff. Like no one does that sort of effort these days. People are like, oh man, I posted 20 YouTube clips. Why aren't I massive yet? And it's like, fuck.
No, good dude.
Like,
How's the return of YouTube though? Like that, I feel like this in the last 4 or 5 months, YouTube has come back so strongly. Like I'm well back on my YouTube buzz. I'm watching like vlogs to relax, and I dropped that behavior for a really long time, like years almost. And I feel like long form content, YouTube especially, is it's almost a push back from TikTok, and now we're going back to that.
I think
deeper look.
it's real interesting to hear you say that because in my experience, it never left. It just some people decided to go more into short form and concentrate more in there. But actually, like, I mean, you can see the numbers. YouTube has consistently grown since. I mean, it's the biggest platform in terms of...
YouTube's the best.
Yeah.
I love
It's just
YouTube.
absolutely huge.
YouTube feeds you.
Yeah.
You're actually fed from your creator. You know, you're
Yeah.
you're learning, you're in their life.
Yeah.
It's fun, it's vibrant, you're moving around. It's so much better than just this like tiny little snapshot.
The other
I
thing
love
too
it.
is YouTube.
I love it.
Most people watch, not most people, but so many people now watch it on their TV.
Yes.
You know, so
do
it's
that.
the biggest streaming platform in the world. It's bigger than
Yeah.
Netflix. Like I hardly ever watch YouTube on my phone anymore unless it's shorts. Like I really only watch shorts on my phone unless I'm sitting at the lunch table and I'm just trying to watch a clip. But I watch it at home on TV. I sit back.
I stopped watching YouTube like a year ago. A year ago, yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it died.
I still
a
haven't got
bit.
back though.
Come back. Come back to YouTube. I'm a YouTube
yeah.
advocate.
Oh, YouTube's the best. Like YouTube's all roads lead to YouTube.
And I feel like it really distinguishes creators too. Because if there's an influencer and I like her shoes, but then she also has incredible YouTube videos. She's putting the time in editing. She has the personality to also talk for, 30 minutes. It just puts you in another league and it brings me into you as like a personality, not just an influencer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think the way I look at it is like the short form video platforms, including YouTube Shorts. I'm there for a dopamine hit. I am 100% there
Yeah.
to be hit by dopamine or I'm doing work.
Yeah.
One of the two. But I'm usually there for dopamine hits. But the way I watch YouTube is I'm sitting back, I'm
Chilling.
turning it on.
Totally.
I've had dinner.
Yeah.
I'm feet up for an hour and a half like I would watch, like people used to do, put in primetime TV on.
Yeah.
Same thing. And so then when I'm watching these people, like I've got the YouTubers I always watch every week and I know their
same.
schedule.
Same.
You know, and I'll go every week. And the worst thing is that they all do, most of them drop on Sundays, which is our Monday night. So I'm like, fuck, I can't watch 12 videos on a Monday. So,
Yeah.
but it's fun. You watch them out the week. But that's the thing is like you build just the same way we did with TV. You build these like schedules that you watch TV to.
Yeah.
You start to get to know the personalities, but they are playing themselves, not characters.
Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just about their routine, because it's like, for a lot of young people, like they don't have a routine, so therefore they'll jump to the shiny thing when it pops up, like TikTok, and they'll stay in it. But then as time goes on, you mature and you have your routine, like for you,
Yep.
you're still on YouTube. Whereas I used to watch YouTube, and then I've jumped to TikTok.
Yeah.
But as you start
Yeah.
to build your routine, that's probably why a lot of younger people just have
That's
left
true.
YouTube.
That's a good point.
For like a
For the
period of
dopamine
time
hits
now.
because
Yeah,
you
for
don't
the
have
dopamine-
Monday nights at home all the time because
Nah, just-
when you're young
You're trying to figure out what the fuck you're doing. Yeah.
and like you might be single as well, so then you're dating or you're going out friends or all that sort of stuff. Whereas like, yeah, I go home and watch YouTube with my wife.
Yeah. Totally. And like cook dinner.
Love that. Okay, we've been here an hour.
Oh, so easy.
So what other questions or things did you want to ask, or did I miss anything that we really should have talked about?
Not really. That was such an interesting
Yeah,
conversation.
it took some turns.
Yeah.
Took some turns. No, it was interesting. For me, I didn't really know what to take out of this. I knew that you were launching the business, and I could see the books. That was something I was interesting to hear about because it's obviously the journey I'm on as well. The thing that my biggest takeaway from today is I didn't expect to how long you had been at this.
Oh, yeah.
Like I didn't know you obviously 10 years ago who you were. I mean, I wasn't in the country. I live in Australia. I lived all around the world. So I didn't have no clue who you were from
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
So that was really surprising.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it already is, but that should definitely be part of your brand.
Right.
And it didn't really come up in the research.
Yeah. Okay.
The length, because there's something in there in like the tenure people put in. Like when people go, "Fuck, these guys have been around forever."
Yeah.
The new audiences see it. Because if I look at you now,
Yeah.
I just think, oh yeah, someone who's just come up in the last couple of years.
Wow.
A lot of people come up in COVID.
You know, and look, I understand you didn't because of the book release
Yeah.
dates. I can understand, but yeah, come up in COVID. That's actually
Yeah.
I would have assumed because I didn't know you prior. Oh, she's come up through COVID like everyone else. But there's something in someone who's been doing it for 10 years.
It's interesting. Like when you were talking about those stages
Yeah.
and being ready to shift stages.
Yeah.
I am now at the stage where I
Yeah.
do feel really ready to shift
Cool.
to like a much bigger audience.
Yeah.
And I think I've really put my hard yards in
Yeah.
with like being authentic, being myself, nurturing, and like I do feel even just like from emotional maturity that I'm at the point to handle a 2 million person platform.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really interesting for me hearing you speak about that, and like in relation to me having done it for so long, because I really am at that point of like the cliff of, okay, what's the thing that's going to make the big difference? I think.
Yeah. My advice for that, for someone who knows how to create like yourself, is just, how do you figure out a workflow that allows you to put out as much as possible on short form,
right,
to grow and understand for yourself that this is just growth. That's all it is. And with Instagram's new trial feature, that's what Adam Mazzari, the Instagram guy, said over the weekend, is like, if you're wanting to increase your cadence with your audience, but you don't want to piss off your audience with too much content, do everything as trial.
Yeah.
Because then they will never see it unless it's good.
Right.
And so if it performs well for new audience,
interesting.
then they'll push it to your main audience.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah.
they just kill it.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's something I've been looking at for myself. I can't yet because I haven't been making lots of content at the moment. I've just been doing my daily stuff. But once I get to like 3 or 4 a day, we can trial lots of stuff. My audience won't get annoyed by me just pumping shit out. Instagram will go try find new audience to see if it'll like it. And if it does, then it'll show my old audience. But if it doesn't, it just kills it. So you get to like, 1, find new audiences. 2, not piss off your current audience for putting too much crap out they can't keep up with it all, because that is a real thing. People can't keep up with your content.
100%.
But 3, like putting out like a volume approach to growing, if you want to grow fast, is definitely the way.
Okay.
Like it's definitely the best way to do it. The
Okay.
most successful way.
And should I do that on my main Instagram account?
Yeah. Pick one.
Pick one and
Pick
go
one
for
and
it.
go for it. You can't possibly do it on multiple.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless you hire a team.
Yeah.
Nah, it's too hard.
Yeah.
Fuck. Just the thought of it gives me anxiety, like trying to do that much on multiple. Like
Totally.
even just doing it on my own. Like this, like Stansplaining is part of this, the concept of me putting out 4. Stansplaining will give me 1 a day of clips, because me trying to do 4 myself, if I didn't have this team helping me, I'd be fucked.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I'd
Yeah.
burn out.
Totally.
Yeah. Especially when you're trying to run a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much. That was great.
Oh, thanks for having me. That was super fun.
First one of the year. Get the cobwebs
Woohoo!
out. That was a great one too. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Maybe what would be cool, actually, I'm going to already get you to commit to this. I want to get you back on once it's launched models.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I want to, like, maybe a couple months afterwards.
Totally,
And we'll hear
let's do
about that
that.
launch cycle, because that'd be cool to hear.
100%. Let's do it.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.